Some of you have been around this town for a while. Can you point out to me one mayor that has not been battling with the police unions in the last 50 years? Name one. Name one. So the experience of this mayor, in terms of some cops not liking him, is nothing new. It's part of life. It's part of politics.
All right, folks, welcome back. And joining us right now is the former governor of the state of New York. 3 times he was governor here in New York. And it's a pleasure to see Governor George Pataki once again. Thank you, sir.
Good being with you, Steve.
And let's start with that because, you know, I know everybody who's trashing the mayor to one extent or another praises Bratton. But, I mean, that's a little misleading. I mean, this is a different kind of battle, is it not?
Yeah, first, let me say Commissioner Bratton is a great commissioner, and we're lucky in New York to have him there at this difficult time. But what he is saying is completely different from what we face today. Of course, mayors have had battles with the police, but almost every time it was over contracts. Am I going to get a raise? Are we going to get different work rules? Things of that nature. This is totally different. This is about whether or not the police professionals respect the mayor of this city, and that is why it's a very serious matter. Of course, anytime 2 police officers are killed in the line of duty, particularly this horrible assassination, it is a very difficult time, but it's compounded by the fact that this mayor has not had the police officers back.
And not having their back, and when you define that as what it is, that he actually stood there and said that the police department is racist, has been racist for decades, and to the point where he's in fear of the life for his own son. I mean, that's unprecedented. That's bizarre. That's radical. How does he recover from that?
I think the mayor should apologize to the police. I think he should apologize for his statements. He should apologize with not standing with them, for not meeting with them when he met with the leaders of the demonstrators, many of whom were chanting, "What do we want? Dead cops." He should not have met with them. He should have met with the police leaders. So I think the mayor should apologize. I think the mayor can rebuild a working relationship with the police in the city. The police are the best trained, the most professional. They're going to do their job, whether or not they like the mayor. But I do think it would help us to all move forward if the mayor would say, what I did was wrong. This is a great police force. Let's work together.
Howard Safir, who was the police commissioner here in New York for a while, wrote a piece that went at Time magazine, I believe, where he urged President Obama to hold a national day respecting the police. But before we get to that, he also said that he's afraid that police officers now will pull up to a building where there's a domestic dispute in an apartment building, see nothing outside the building, and then say, well, mistaken call, and drive on. Do you believe police will now back off a little bit?
I certainly hope not, and I don't think so. The NYPD should be one of the most respected institutions in America, and it certainly was before, for I believe, political reasons, this attack on the police department began 2 years ago. Not because of facts, but because of politics. But I think they are professionals. They're going to do their job. They put their lives on the line every day. That's not going to stop whether or not they agree or dislike the mayor. And it's just tragic that they have to work under such difficult, intense circumstances, even beyond their usual circumstances. But Steve, I just want to say one thing. It's not just the mayor. It's the Attorney General, who, when the NYPD was the most successful force in driving down crime, saving lives, particularly in high-crime minority neighborhoods, the Attorney General comes in and files a civil lawsuit saying we need a federal monitor because it's a racist department, when things were going as well in this city as they've gone in my lifetime. So talk about putting oil on a fire. The Attorney General did that, and I think he too, he hasn't said it in 6 years, said stand up there, say I understand how courageous the police are, how important they are, how over 100 of them on an average year lose their lives on the line of duty. Holder should do that, Obama should do that, and certainly the mayor should do that.
Just the other day, I played the cut on Friday. Holder said, I can't sit here, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's almost direct, I can't sit here and tell you that people of color should not be afraid of the police.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
And that's the type of rhetoric that has created this distrust that did not exist. And I remember the last time this happened is over 40 years ago, when they were targeting the police. And we haven't had a climate like that since then. And language like that from the Attorney General, The fact the President of the United States, within 15 minutes after Ferguson, goes on national TV, but doesn't come before the cameras to say anything to the families of these police or to the police officers who are on our front lines, that all creates this climate. It's sad. We have to move beyond. You know, the NYPD will. They're a great force. I think New York City, people from every walk of life, every color, every political persuasion will rally behind our police. I'm optimistic about the future, but it's in spite of our leadership, not because of it.
Stay where you are. We got one more short segment coming up with Governor George Pataki here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Lots to get to. Of course, the mayor held a press conference yesterday and wound up attacking a reporter and the media for enabling some of these protesters, which it was mind-boggling to me. We'll see what the governor thinks. We're coming back on the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away.
So yes, there are some bad people who say inappropriate things. There are some people who say hateful things. They have no place in these protests. They are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, I'm talking about the vast majority of New Yorkers, like the vast majority of Americans who believe in peaceful, democratic process. I don't care where they are in the political spectrum. The vast majority of our citizens are good and decent people who do not say negative things, racist things, nasty things to police, threatening things to police. The few who want conflict attempt that, and unfortunately so many times you guys enable that.
That's Mayor de Blasio yesterday blasting the media, saying that they enable the bad protesters. Joining us once again, Governor George Pataki. This will be the last thing on de Blasio, I promise you, but boy, he turned that around, didn't he?
Well, Steve, I think he had a very good message there, where the vast majority of Americans, regardless of their political views, are good people and respectful people. And he's right about that. But he's wrong in blaming the media. And he's wrong in saying it was a handful. There were hundreds of people shouting, "What do we want? Dead cops." And many of them were not peaceful protesters. You have anarchists and people who want to use any excuse to create chaos. One of whom is a City University faculty member who's still working there. And why he's still there is beyond me. But it's not the media. It's those people who want to use any excuse to create chaos in this city and in this country. And this mayor has to understand that, enforce the law. He's now said no demonstrations during this time of mourning. He's right. But and the protesters have said, we're going to do it anyway. He should enforce the law. Illegal demonstrators should be arrested. People who break the law should be prosecuted. And if he did that and apologized for not having the police's back, I think I'd have a high degree of confidence that we can use this tragic incident to come together.
What about the allowing the protesters to roam freely on the highways, on the streets? Shouldn't there be a designated areas?
Yes, I mean, totally illegally. Breaking the law. And instead of saying,
But that's the administration's fault, because the protesters are allowed to do it, right?
They were allowed to do it. The police were under orders not to enforce the law. And that, when you allow that, when you tell particularly these anarchists of the left that go ahead, we're not going to we're going to actually meet with you after you do this, it sends the wrong message. We have to change direction in this city.
Pat Lynch has come under a lot of scrutiny. He's a good friend of mine, he's not saying anything now until after the funerals, understandably. So, do you think he went too far? I mean, I don't.
It's an emotional time.
Sure.
And Pat, I think, got caught up in the emotion, and I can understand that. Leader of the police union, he has sons who are police officers. He's seen, we have both seen, too many police officers die in the line of duty in this city. So he reacted emotionally. Whether or not, in retrospect, he would say it again, let's move forward. There's nobody who hasn't said something during this time of high emotion that perhaps they wouldn't want to walk back a
Clyde
little bit.
Haberman of the New York Times, I think I have his name correctly. I was driving home on CBS 88 yesterday listening, and he's on, and he's talking about how you can't overlook the fact that the cops are in a contract negotiation. And part of this, he said, might be that. I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
No, that is just completely wrong. This is not about a contract. As we were talking earlier, there isn't a police department that over a period of years hasn't had a difficult contract negotiation. This is totally different, and this is far more serious, and this requires everybody just sitting down and understanding we're all in this together, and we have to move forward together. And I know the police will do that. They're the finest force in America. I just hope the political leadership does it as well.
Finally, we got about a minute left here. You're looking forward to the holidays, maybe a more peaceful time and a quiet time of reflection for everybody?
You know, it's a great time. All our kids are coming back from all over the country. They're all going to be home for Christmas, and I'm really looking forward to it. But you can't help but have this sense of sorrow for the families of Officer Ramos and Officer Liu, who just this should never have happened, but we will move forward. This is New York, this is America, and let us all pray 2015 is a far better year.
And for you personally, a status quo, because we've talked about the presidency, looming out there. Where are you on all that?
You know, this is not the time for that, Steve. You know, I do believe we need to change the direction of this country. There will be time for that. At this time, I think we just have to give a prayer of thanks for those who have lost their lives, and look forward in the hopes that we all come together and have a tremendous 2015.
All right. Merry Christmas to you and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year,
Governor
Steve.
George Pataki, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back with the Malzberg panel after the break. But first, the kamikaze attack on the USS Missouri effectively ended World War II. Let's take a look back at that fateful day with this American moment. It's coming to you next, right here on Newsmax Television.